So I'm found struggling at a crossroads in my life in the early 2000s. I was already producing and promoting. I studied in Boston to be a sound engineer, but I was returning to Providence every weekend to mentor and work with youth. Two completely different directions, and they had their own rewards and outcomes. Promoting a concert one night, and I'm exhausted. I decided I was going to avoid the traditional after party perks for the talent. I just wanted to see a movie. But it turned out that the talent just wanted to see a movie too. And the next thing you know, I'm out with an R&B singer, a rapper, and a homie. But the R&B singer and I, we just hit it off. And it made all the sense in the world. She was making music. I was a producer. She lacked a good producer. So I just needed that breakthrough. And our sound together was so good. She invited me into her life and into adventure. And I said no. What the hell was wrong with me? She was cute, gaining success, and I'm a chubby nerd who had nothing to lose. I was afraid of building an us. Or was I afraid of succeeding? Or was I afraid of failing in life and in love? I missed the chance. That pathway closed. But on the same train that Melface took to Boston, I was reading the Celestine Prophecy. Even as a work of fiction, it still felt true to me. It was about these insights along your spiritual journey and following the signs in life that might be pointing us ahead. So I started looking at everything and questioning whether it was a coincidence or maybe this means something, right? The next day, I'm headed to my job in Boston, saw a long line early in the morning at a record store. This was unusual, but Prophecy Roberto says yes to adventure. So I get in line. What's the line for? I don't even know. It turns out, though, that my favorite performer decided to throw a pop-up concert in a nearby town. So that same night, Prophecy Roberto and his best friend went to a virtually impromptu Prince concert. Prophecy Roberto had the best night ever. And all I had to do was say yes to adventure, even standing in a weird-ass line with no expectations. Saying yes got me to see this legend live in a tiny, intimate club, just like in Purple Rain. So hear me out. Here's this hood nerd Spider-Man fan guided by the Stan Lee principle: with great power comes great responsibility. Is it a coincidence that my favorite clothing line, Echo, now made gear with Spider-Man? Probably, but I was gonna buy it up, even if I was only wearing Spider-Man gear in the comforts of my own home. But the white whale, right, was this Spider-Man velour tracksuit. It had a super limited run and I had to have it. And you might be thinking, all right, Roberto, if you only wear nerd stuff like this at home, how could you make it worth it? But spoiler alert, after 11 months of being home in a pandemic, who's laughing now, dude? And yes, I finally found it. I found it on eBay in my dream destination of Japan. But how had this rare ass Spider-Man outfit in my supersize turned up in Japan? That was weird. But this book that I'm reading tells me that coincidences are made up of pathways guiding you. So I do what any totally normal person would do, and I start a correspondence with this eBay stranger in Japan. And this monkey fighter speaks English, and he's from the US, and he's at a crossroads too. And he's a sound engineer working in education. I don't know what the odds could be, but I started to pursue them. This dude's name was White Afro. He's from Kansas. He's in a group making anime music in Tokyo while teaching English in the Nova program. And after a few chats, he's showing me how to move my whole life to Japan to teach English, all expenses paid, including room and board. So that's what we'd all do, right? Let the eBay guy who's selling us a Spider-Man tracksuit convince us to just up and move to Japan. We hit it off though, and we started making real arrangements. But could I really just go? Yo, what if following the signs is all just bullshit from some book I'm reading? But see, this is where things get crazy. Don't believe me? Shit, I hardly believe me. I go to the gym, and on my machine is this magazine open to an article of White Flipping Afro and his crew doing their thing in Japan. Either I was being punked or my path very clearly was sending me to Japan. But I didn't make it to Japan that year. Instead, parenthood found its way into my journey at that exact moment. Of course, the baby shower was themed after Spider-Man, and I won't tell you how, but Stan Lee himself signed every single outgoing invitation, and he loved the idea. So My mind is still on Japan, and a longtime fan of Sam Cooke's Change Gonna Come and also the revolutionary Che Guevara. I did the dastardly deed of naming him Kaizen, which means continuous improvement and revolutionary. Broken down, it means change and good. And these are probably unfair expectations, and it might make me an asshole dad. I don't even know. But hold up. I kept following those signs though. And I leaned hard into education. I founded a youth-led nonprofit, Steambox, and teamed up with Echo soon after. Echo donated from his clothing line, so soon these badasses launched a device to space, and they launched in style. And to follow these adventures at Steambox RI is where it's at. But I hate to admit it. At first, it felt like a sacrifice, like maybe my path had become divergent. But how could I know that fatherhood was going to be so dope? We finally made it to Japan together. And while we were at it, we took 16 Steambox youth with us. It felt like destiny fulfilled. So no longer on a crossroads, I'm on a very specific path. In these 15 years, we've been on a wild ride around the world and back 3 times. We've seen the Northern Lights, Middle Earth, watched pink dolphins swimming near Antarctica. Every lesson learned, every moment, it's been filled with love. I said yes to adventure, and I followed my prophecy to a journey of love and spiritual, emotional, and even career fulfillment. Now Kaizen is beginning to.
Yes, I'm gonna try to get back in.
My wish is for you to have peace and love on yours. And the way to do it is to say yes to prophecy.